Hi guys, how are you? This is Anderson Thiago from New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal Full Albums with another episode of Wave of Metal podcast. Last episode we talked with Traveler, the Canadian band. It was a great conversation with the guys and I'm looking forward to seeing them at Keep It True Festival. If you haven't listened to their album, the self-titled debut Traveler, you should do it, and if you are going to Keep It True, don't miss them. They're going to be, I think, one of the first bands to perform, but be there because they are contenders for Album of the Year. And if you are wondering why we started the episode listening to Singing Words by Heavy Load, it's because I'm still much into Swedish heavy metal after reading the Ride Into Glory article. Ride Into Glory is a website about traditional heavy metal, and they just released an article called Singing Words, a guide to Swedish heavy metal, and it's only the part 1. Go to ridingtoglory.com to read and to learn, to be reminded, or just to check if your favorite album from that scene is there. I'm still toying with the idea of writing a guest article for Riding to Glory about Brazilian 80s heavy metal, because I know that Brazilian heavy metal is very well respected worldwide, but mostly the extreme side of it, and I will try to focus on traditional heavy metal. And we got to 37,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much guys for watching, for subscribing, and also for supporting the channel. It's an amazing achievement, and I hope we can get to 50,000 subscribers pretty soon, especially because in May it will be our 3rd anniversary, and I can't think of a better way to crown this special date than having 50,000 lovers of old school heavy metal subscribing to the channel. Talking about the podcast now, yesterday I recorded the 5th episode with Smolder from Canada. They are going to release their first full-length Times of Obscene Evil and Wide Daring via Cruz del Sur Music on April, and it's my favorite album of the year so far, and we had a nice and very long conversation about it, and I'm very excited to share it with you. I'm still thinking about future episodes and trying to balance between American, Canadian bands and European bands. It's difficult for me to interview American and Canadian bands because of the time zone difference, but with some effort from the bands, it's working out. I would love to have Enforcer, for example, to talk about their new album Zenith, even if all of dislikes the tag New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal, and that I won't be able to share their album on the channel. But even then, it would be nice to have them here as guests. I will try my best, and I hope it works. Now I'd like to highlight some things I posted on the channel recently, and if you haven't listened to one of these bands, you should check them. First one is Iron Griffin, Curse of the Sky, is the debut full-length by this Finnish band. They released an EP in 2017, and this one is the debut album now with a female singer, and she's amazing. So Iron Griffin, Curse of the Sky, released by Gates of Hell Records. And we have Magna Boat, is a US power metal band from Portland, USA, and their self-titled debut. We have my friend Trevor and Hunt, If Icarus Could Fly, via Shadow Kingdom Records. It should have been released in May, but Trevor decided to speed up things and he made it available this March. And we also have the Return album by the Italian band Stonewall. They released their first one in 2011, and then they returned last year with a new album via No Remorse Records. Also by No Remorse Records, we premiered the new album by Twisted Tower Dyer. They are not exactly new wave of traditional heavy metal because their first album is from 1999, but I consider them precursors of this new wave of great and amazing heavy metal bands. And the last one I shared is Witch Lords Demons in the Dark. It's an old style power metal for fans of old Halloween, old Blind Guardian, and old Gamma Ray. We also premiered two official videos recently, one by Silent Storm for the song Patriots of Metal, and one for Simony for the song We Are the Ones. Go watch them after you finish this episode. And last but not least, I would like to give a shout out to my new patrons, Josh Brown and Christoph Dedeney from the band Witch Lords. Thank you so much for your help to keep the channel going and bringing more and more good heavy metal for everybody. I also adjusted some things on my Patreon account, so now we have tiers for patrons, and you can also have a small reward depending on how much you pledge, especially if you are in a band. But if you are not in a band, it isn't a problem. You can choose to feature your favorite band, and that's also cool. So if you'd like to donate, go to patreon.com/NWOTHMFULL. And now, with no further ado, let's go to our fourth episode of Wave of Metal. Our next guest is a freelance writer on Death Forever magazine, and he's also a booking agent in many awesome festivals in Germany, like Hardened and Steel Festival, Metal Assault Festival, Hammer of Doom Festival, and one of the most important festivals dedicated to old school heavy metal in the world. Today we are talking with Oliver Weinsheimer from Keep It True Festival. Hi Oliver, how are the preparations for Keep It True 22 going?
Hello. I'm in the middle of it, and right now I was just booking flights today for our Texas metal bands, Juggernaut and the Texas Metal Union project. So, but these are the last flights that I needed to book, and all other flights are already booked, and I hope we're ready to go from that side.
And since the 12th edition, the festival is held at the same location. Do you believe Keep It True already reached its best, or are there still room for improvement?
Well, I think there's always room for improvement, and when we started in 2003 with the festival, things were much different than they are today, and I think we already reached a high level. But for this year, for example, we will have big improvements from the situations with toilets and showering and all the surroundings. But it's always a competition to book unique bands and to book something very special for all the fans coming to Keep It True, because the festival is famous for the rare shows and reunions and stuff. So it's not getting easier by the year.
And from what I've been able to follow, the next year festival is sold out basically as soon as the current one ends. Are there any plans for an expansion?
No, there are absolutely no plans to make the festival bigger, because I think if we would make it bigger, the spirit of the festival would suffer from it. And we have always done it in the venue, besides the one festival we did in Würzburg. But this was just an experiment on another time of the year. But I think the size that it has now is perfect for the underground community, and it won't get bigger, and we won't let it go bigger. And so there are really zero plans about expanding.
I absolutely understand your point, but as old school heavy metal becomes more and more popular these days. Maybe some people who want to attend the festival cannot do it because the tickets are sold out as soon as they start selling.
Last year it was a little bit different because we did a different ticket selling um, schedule. So people who were not at the venue also had the chance to get tickets for the festival, and actually we were not sold out directly at the festival, so it took a few weeks. So everyone around the world had the chance to buy tickets online after the festival, and I think that worked out pretty good, and that's the most we can do. And people just need to grab them when they are there, and I think it would be a much more different festival if we would do it in a huge hall or venue or in open air. I said to myself, I will never do an open air show because I'm not a big fan of open airs, and it would change the character of the festival completely. So there are many causes why we stick to what we have, and you never know what happens in 2 or 3 years if maybe underground metal is not as popular as it is right now. And with Keep It True in the beginning, we only had 700 people in the first festival, and it grew with the whole movement through all the years. And sometimes you reach a peak, and from the peak it goes down. So we are prepared for everything, and if it's not so popular anymore, we still have our limits, and I think we can survive with it. But um, really, it makes no sense to make it bigger.
As you know, I have a channel on YouTube dedicated to new bands of old school heavy metal. And one of the things I like most about Keep It True is the opportunity these bands get to play to thousands of potential new fans. Traveler, Idle Hands, Gatekeeper, Stalker, Iron Flame, Witch Hazel, Visigoth, Eternal Champion, Sacral Rage, just to name a few over the last years. How important do you feel this is for the scene, for the bands, and also for Keep It True?
Oh, I think it's extremely important, and because the festival is not only built on all the old bands and reunited bands and sensational reunion stuff, it's also about the newcomers, and because they have to carry the torch in the future. And I decide a long time before I choose a band to play as the opener or in the early hours, because I want to have the best newcomers of the scene at Keep It True, and somehow after they play, they have huge success at Keep It True, and their career, it's a kickstart for their career. And when we announced Traveler, for example, uh, they sold like crazy after it, and people are always looking which bands are the openers and are the newcomers that Keep It True, and then they go to the websites and check out the songs and stuff. And I think that's an important factor, and it's very helpful for these smaller newcomer bands. And of course, it's also important for the festival and the scene, because we are not like a festival that wants to only have old people on the stage or stuff like this. It should be a good mixture of both. The idols who are playing there, who are the cause why many young bands have formed, because they love their music so much, and they can play on the same stage together with them. And the reactions of all the newcomer bands, they are so great when I ask them if they want to play and stuff. And it's it's just fitting, and somehow it works out very good in the last years, and somehow I'm able to pick the good ones. And I'm very proud of all the young bands that play at Keep It True, and this will go on as long as I'm doing the festival.
And from what I get, reading some reviews and articles, these new bands are getting larger crowds every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Keep It True is way different than other festivals, because when you go to other festivals, when the opener band is going on stage, there are not many people there because they arrive later or are outside drinking or eating or doing something. In Keep It True, when the openers start playing, the hall is almost full, and that's one point why I want to have so high quality bands, because the fans, they don't want to be disappointed if there are bad openers or stuff. And that's also why I'm also doing no bands from France or stuff, because it makes no sense. The bands that are playing at Keep It True, it's just from the quality and from my personal taste. And luckily, many people have the same taste, and it works out perfectly. And when you look in the past, all these bands opening up at Keep It True, they had a much bigger following after it.
And you mentioned Traveler. They were actually the most viewed album on my channel in February. And many people there saying it's a contender for album of the year. So you made a great choice picking them for opening slot.
Yeah, and the advantage is that the singer Jean-Pierre, he has been playing at Keep It True already twice before, with Borrow Time and with Gatekeeper. So he knows what's going on at Keep It True, and he's always so happy to return back. And he's actually he's one of the singers who sang the most times at Keep It True, together with Harry Conklin, actually.
And we first came in contact when you told me you had booked Sabir, the Australian Canadian band, after seeing them on my channel.
Yes, that's right.
It was an honor to know that I helped them get the gig. And you already talked a little bit about this, but can you elaborate more on how different is the old school metal scene compared to when Keep It True started in 2003?
Yeah, that's a huge difference, because back then there was no YouTube so popular and stuff, and there was no Bandcamp and all these things. And when I started out with Keep It True, I needed to actually call the bands on the phone. I remember when I searched for Broker's Helm, I searched for a telephone book in San Francisco and looked for the names of the musicians there and tried all the names if it's the right one, till I finally reached one of the band. And nowadays it's much easier, because you can make contact on Facebook and make contact on YouTube, and you have great channels like yours where you can get inspirations from. And to me, it's such an improvement, because I had much more stress and it was much more complicated in the early years because of the missing internet connection stuff. But I don't complain, because it makes my work much easier, and also for the bands. And I can, if a band does not know about Keep It True, I can just send them a YouTube link and stuff, and they see what it's like, and they because bands get so many offers from different small and shitty festivals and stuff, and so they can really see what it's all about and decide where they go and where not. And so besides the download problem, I think the whole internet thing was really a gift for the metal scene. And yeah, I hope it will go on in the future like this, and it's only helpful.
Before we started the interview, I asked you to choose 3 songs for the listeners to enjoy, and the first one you got was Sortilege, but what's the song?
Chasse la Dragon. I cannot speak French very well, so I hope I pronounced it very well.
Let me try, so it's Sortilege.
Chasse le dragon. « chasser le dragon.
And I read in an interview to the German website Power Metal that you described yourself as too fanatic, not organizer. This is the Google Translate version of it. You also mentioned that bands are booked based purely on your instinct. Do you think that not being driven by the business side of the thing helped Keep It True become successful?
Absolutely. It's actually the main cause of it because when we started it in 2003, there was no festival scene at all. The only other festival that was that you could compare with Keep It True back then in the beginning was Headbangers Open Air. And I was very disappointed back then because all these cult bands from the 80s and young metal bands, they didn't had any chance to play anywhere. And I wanted to change this. And so I met up with Tarek from Majesty, and because he had backline and PA system and stuff. So we discussed about doing an own festival, and in the end, it worked out well in the beginning, and I just trusted my guts about booking the bands for the first ones, and luckily we already had over 700 people at the first one, because if the first one would have been a total letdown, maybe there wouldn't have been another. So so it and also an advantage was that it grew very slowly. We each year we had maybe 200 or 300 people more and more till number 10, where we first did it with 2 days, and it was the 10th anniversary and stuff. This was the first time when it was completely sold out, and from then on it was till now. And I'm really proud of that fact, and I just want to keep on getting so many cool bands that the people can appreciate it, and it stays like this. And till now, I don't know where it came from, but somehow I have this instinct or this gut feeling about bands who fit, and somehow when I start talking to a band to reunite, somehow I have a kind of feeling how I have to talk to these guys, and I don't know myself what it is. It's just there, and I'm happy for that, and I just hope it never goes away.
My next question is just about that, because we already mentioned the opportunity you give to new and upcoming bands, but you are also responsible for a lot of classic bands getting back together to play on the festival and even starting recording new music. With just a quick search on Google, I got Kirith Ungol, Venom Inc., Ross the Boss, Satan, and many others. And Kirith Ungol and Satan are kind of funny because they mention on interviews how insistent you can be.
Yeah,
How do you feel when you manage to reunite a band long gone?
actually, it's an amazing feeling because uh, you work so hard on it, and it's not done in a very short time. It takes a lot of time for South Angle. I started in maybe 12 years or 13 years ago to start talking to them, and they always said no, no, no. There's no chance at all. We were so disappointed by the business back then. Nobody gets me back on stage ever again, and but I always try talking to them again, give them options, and of course, um, when Kibi True was getting bigger and always sold out, and uh, when the people see all these enthusiastic fans, it makes my work easier, because these people, they wanna have that experience like the other bands that already played there have too, and that helps a lot with my talkings to the bands. But I have to say, each band is so different to talk to, and South Angle was so different than Heavy Load was, for example, or Warlord. Ross the Boss was kind of easy to me, which was strange, but many bands were very hard to convince, and it took me. Some bands really took many years of talkings and being patient with them, and not making too much pressure on them. Just see it evolve, and till now it worked out great. And I know there are not many left, but I will do my very best to keep on doing that. And I want to surprise people all the time, and it's always the best feeling is when you have made the reunion with the band and nobody knows about it, and it comes to the day when you announce it, and you put it online and everybody's freaking out about it, that makes my day all the time. And that's that is why I'm doing this festival, because I wanted to make these people happy. And of course I want to make myself happy too, because I'm a fan of these bands myself. uh, if I wouldn't be, I couldn't do this festival, because it's driven by the heart, not by the money. I know it's a sold out festival, and people think I'm swimming in money or something, but it's that's definitely not true. It's just a heart driven thing, and without this motivation, you cannot do a festival like this. Because if you would run a festival just because of money, you couldn't book these bands and couldn't invest so much time in it. Actually, I have a daily job, a 9 to 5 job, and I do all the festival stuff in my free time, and this just comes from enthusiasm and motivation and the love for the music.
I can't imagine how you manage to have a regular job and do all the related stuff to the festivals, because it's not only keep it true. But how did you deal with Kirith Angle? Because they were pretty hard to convince. Did you and Jarvis Letterby had to lock them inside a room without food and drinks and just left them out when they decided to play again?
That's actually not true. We I flew to Ventura, and Jarvis was working on them together with me all the time, because he was very helpful, because he's a local guy, he knows them personally, so it makes it easier to access them, and he could give them a rehearsal room and all that stuff. But in the end, I flew to Ventura, and they just did a signing session at Frost and Fire, and that was a really cool thing. And directly after the signing session, we took them to a sushi restaurant right across the street to the venue at Frost and Fire, and there we sat, and there was this was the foundation of the reunion, and we sat there, um, talked about it, and Rob Garvin was getting enthusiastic about it, and it was always about Tim Baker, because he was the guy who was always cautious about reuniting and stuff. But after the personal contact, we finally, I wouldn't say persuade, because I cannot persuade somebody if he does not want to do it. But he saw what's going on, and that the people just love it. And I think he just feared getting back on stage and nobody would cheer to him and stuff like this, like it happened when they split up in the 90s. And so that fear was gone, so we could talk very openly about it. And in that night, in that sushi bar, Cyrus Angle reunited, and there was no closed door or anything. So if they wanted, they could have gotten out, but they didn't.
A lot of metalheads who always wanted to see them are probably very grateful to you and Jarvis.
Yeah, I mean, what shall I say? It's I don't do it especially that people thank me for it. I just do it because uh, I want to see the band myself too, and of course I want to make all the Keeper Drew people and all the underground scene people happy with this reunions. And South Uncle was maybe the most sought band in the underground to reunite, together with Heavy Load and Fate's Warning with John Arch. So it was really a work of labor and a work of heart. And of course, it makes me totally happy when people thank me for it. But actually, they should not thank me. They should thank the band, because it's all about the band and not about me, and not about Jarvis. Or it's just about the band. They wrote these songs. They perform live. They should get all the credit for it. And that they are happy now with playing again makes me happy too. And that's the great thing about it.
And which band is your next target?
Well, if I would tell you now, I would have too much competition. Let's say it like this. There are still some bands that I want to get back together, and but it gets harder and harder to have the, I would say, bigger names of the underground. But there are certain bands that are never played in Europe or never played outside of America. These are the ones I talk to right now, and there are bands from other countries that not have played in Europe already, and these are my goals. And I I look at the underground scene a lot, and I analyze how people think, what they like, and what their favorite bands are, and this gives me a good insight how the people going to keep it true feel and what they want to see, and from all these influences, I choose the bands I ask, and that's how I work for the future. And there are, of course, a few cool bands in works for 2020, but I really cannot say any one of them yet because it's still all in the works. And I actually have only one band really confirmed for next year right now at the moment, and I'm late. I know that because normally I announce at least 5 or 6 of them at the festival itself. But I still have a little time till end of April, so I have some talks already. So I hope something will work out till then, and if not, I will do it after Keep It True. And the good thing is, after all these years, people have really a good trust in the festival, and they know that they won't get any bullshit at Keep It True, and they can rely on me. And I try my very best to always have a good combination of all the underground metal styles and stuff. And yeah, I just try.
Let's talk about the current edition, Keep It True 22. It will be a very emotional celebration, especially with the tribute to Mark Shelton. Can you
Mhm.
give any details of how this special concert has been planned?
Yeah, that even the planning was very emotional because um, when Mark died on that Friday on the Friday night on Headbangers Open Air, um, I heard it maybe 5 or 6 hours after he died. Brian um, wrote me, Brian Patrick from Hell Roadie, from the singer from Manilla Road, and he was in tears, and because he was with Mark till the last second, and they as he died in Germany, it was very complicated to get him back to America, and he got cremated in Germany, and they had to bring back the urn uh, to to his hometown. So the remaining band, had to stay some days in Germany. So they traveled down to Noidy's house, the drummer, and they stayed there. And on the Sunday, so 2 days, or 1.5 day after Mark died, I wrote to Noidy and to Brian if I should come, because Noidy only lives 1.5 hours away from me, and so I drove there, and we sat together, and first of all we all just cried. We couldn't do anything else. It was a very sad and emotional moment for us because we were all so close friends, and then uh, I just said we need to do something for him, and we need to do a tribute to him, and what the other guys would think about it. And without a doubt, in 1 second, Brian said, "Of course," and we can only do that at Keep It True. And because Mark loved Keep It True so much, it was he did his very first reunion show at Bang Your Head, but that was a different band. But the real reunions things, they happened at Keep It True, and the band grew so much because of Keep It True, and he was already so thankful for everything. And there's a very small story that moves me very much, because the last time I met him alive was at Muskelrock in Sweden, and I had the feeling he knew something, that he won't live much longer, because he was so emotional to me when we said goodbye to each other, and because we were at the festival and we had to leave, and Mark came to me, and he hugged me, and he said that he will thank me eternally for everything I've done to him, and he started crying and stuff. And I was saying, "Oh, why are you crying? Because you're doing so great and stuff, so it's all okay." And he was very emotional, and that was the last time I saw him. And so maybe in the back of his mind, he had some vision of his death or something. I don't know. And I also told this to the other members, and they were really moved by it too. And so we started making plans how we do it. And of course, it had to be the actual band. And of course, it had to be the original two drummers, Rick Fisher and Thrasher. And we wanted to invite people who were very close to Mark, who were good friends of Mark. And so we got Kostas from Battle Roar, and Tan from Iron Sword, and also we got Jake from Visigoth, because he's such a great fan of Manilla Road. They even covered a song on their first album from Manilla Road and stuff. And Mark loved this version totally. And yeah, so we made a very small circle of friends, and we invited them, and so we will fly them all in. And even Shark's mother will come for the festival to say goodbye to him on stage. And yeah, I don't know what will happen, and I only know it will be very, very emotional and a unique event. And right now we are trying to organize a stream, a free stream all over the world, that everybody can say goodbye to Mark, not only the people at the festival. So we try to get a good connection so we can stream the full tribute to Mark Shelton show worldwide in the web. I cannot promise right now, because the internet connection in Lauda Königshofen is not very good, but we work on it, and we try the very best to make it happen, because this show deserves to be transmitted to all Manilla Road fans worldwide, and I hope it can work out this way.
I didn't know Mark personally, but your testimony about him made me also emotional. And a tribute band as headliner just show how strong Mark's legacy is.
Yeah, for me, no band can play after that tribute. I made that clear from the very first moment. They play Friday night, and no one will play after this tribute on that day, because he deserves all the attention. It will be the last time the people will hear Manilla Road songs played by the band itself. And he was maybe the underground hero at all, and he deserved this. And I read some comments that it's only a tribute. Why are they headlining? These people should just fuck off, because no one else deserves it more than Mark Shelton. He's a legend, and no one will ever get close to him. So there was no other choice.
I agree with you. The statements I read about him always describe him as a sweet and humble person. It doesn't matter if you were a friend of years or someone he just met, he would be kind with you. And I'm sad that I didn't get to meet him.
Yeah, he was a unique character, and he was a unique spirit. He had a very different way of welcoming people. He was so warm-hearted all the time, and you could never have trouble with him. He was such a kind person, and always welcoming, and never a bad mood, and always joking around. And yeah, he's still sadly missed.
As we are talking about Mark Sheldon and Manilla Road and the celebration that's going to take place at Keep It True, you chose a song, a Manilla Road song, for our listeners to enjoy. Which one did you choose for us?
Oh, the song from Manilla Road I chose is the Mighty Riddle Master.
Let's talk about the other headliner. Keep It True will receive Candlemas with the original singer Johan Lundqvist. I can't wait to see classics from Epicus, Domicus, Metallicus live. Can you talk a little bit about how did you get Candlemas on the festival?
Yeah, it was kind of like I was lucky somehow because this was one of the few bands I didn't have to persuade or talk to do a reunion. They just did it. And then after they did it, I just asked them and we made arrangements and stuff and it worked out. And at Keep It True, they will play the complete Epicus, Domicus, Metallicus in its entirety, plus a few classics and one or two songs from the new album. So I think with Johan, it would be a very special show. And they were supposed to play with that lineup already some years earlier, but we had that volcano incident, so it didn't happen. So I'm really happy to have them finally at Keep It True, and it's to me it's a worthy headliner. So one of the biggest bands of the 80s for the underground, and very unique, and couldn't get much better.
I actually interviewed Traveler for this podcast. It's the third episode of the podcast, and they mentioned the volcano because their best player played for Striker, and they couldn't get to play on Keep It True because of the volcano, and they recorded the song "Fuck Volcanoes."
Yes, right. That was, I mean, it was total shit for the band, but actually the song was very good. And it was a nice joking around about the whole incident. But the year with the volcano, that was horrible, and I think 6 or 7 bands had to cancel, and I had to book replacements overnight, and somehow I got 6 out of 7 or something. So it was, for me, it was the most stressful and terrible festival ever.
If we were to talk about each band play on Keep It True this year, we would end up with a 5 hours episode. I will just mention the other acts and you can comment on them. Anything since expectations to how did you decide to book them or how the booking went. So the first one is Aria, the Russian Metal Masters.
Yeah, I wanted to book Aria since a very long time, but it never worked out because of there was no good communication possible with the Russian management back then, and since lately they have a new manager, and it's very nice and easy and stuff. So it worked out because they are one of my non-English favorite bands in the world, and they are so big in Russia, venues with 10,000 people and stuff, and it's really amazing that they can play at Keep It True, and they are still great music lovers, and they said, let's do it. And I think they won't earn any money with it, but they just want to play, and they come over, and I love that attitude, and I also love that songs, and I think the new singer is as good as the old one, so it will be a great co-headliner.
And you also have Sortilege, the French band that we listened before on this episode, and they come with an almost original lineup, 4 out of 5.
Yes, and a few years back, I had I would call it not a reunion, but I had the original singer Suil playing a show with Reno Hansson from Satan Jokers, and they were playing half of the set Sortilege songs, but it was good, but it was no Sortilege, and I was working all the years to get the original guys, and funny how things go, it worked out for this year, which was not planned in the beginning, but I had the possibility to do it, and so I said, let's go, and it made me really, really happy because I'm such a big fan of Sortilege, and I love the 2 albums so much, and the EP, of course, and yeah, I waited so long for them, but finally it worked out, and I'm really happy about it.
After then, we have Agent Steel featuring John Cyrus And this one is a bit confusing because they were previously announced as Revelation 23, and then they changed to Agent Steel. Can you explain?
Yeah, that's it's always when you do something with John Cyrus, it's always a little bit confusing. and the thing is, I booked John Cyrus as a solo band in the beginning, and then he called his solo band Revelation 23. Then later on, he started recording songs and stuff, and he decided to change the name to Agent Steel because he has the rights to it. It's just all up to him what he's doing. I didn't have any influence on that. He just told me what he's doing, and I just adjusted it. And I don't even know who will be playing with him. He won't tell me. He says it's a secret, and he will reveal the band members, I think, 1 week before the festival and stuff. So I really don't know. I only know that he will play all the HST classics. That's what I can promise.
I didn't know that, so I'm curious now about the band members. And next one is Anthem, the first show in Europe.
Yes. That's what I'm very proud of because Japanese bands are a great thing, and they hardly play outside of Japan. The only one who is playing regularly from the traditional sector is Loudness. But I would say they are, together with Loudness, they are the biggest band in Japan for traditional heavy metal. I always wanted to have them, but somehow it never worked out. And luckily, they signed a record deal with Nuclear Blast, which I didn't know when I talked to them. It took me by surprise when it came out. I even traveled to Tokyo this New Year's Eve to meet the band and stuff, and it was very nice. And they are very kind, and I think they will do a great show. They are great live performers, and I love their old albums, and also the new ones are good too. We need more Japanese metal in Europe, so I support this.
And the last song for today is from the Land of the Rising Sun. It's Anthem. Which song did you choose, Oliver?
Oh, the song is the title track of the Bound to Break album, and for me, it's their best song they have.
You shared a video of them playing Bound to Break, and I watched it today, and they are killing it.
Yeah, totally.
And this one is a bit controversial because you had a problem with Wolf.
Yeah.
Vicious Rumors replaced them with a special digital dictator setlist.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. But it seems that they weren't happy with the decision. What happened?
You mean Leatherwolf?
Yes, because I saw their. When you announced Vicious Rumors, they wrote a post saying their version of what happened.
I think they posted it even before I announced Vicious Rumors, because the thing was, Leatherwolf were supposed to do a complete tour around Keep It True. They were booked for the Wacken Full Metal Cruise, and they had booked shows after Keep It True in Holland and in Germany somewhere. And the main point why I booked them was Mike Olivieri, because for me, he is the band. I mean, he's not the only original member, but he is the voice, he is the look of the band, and he's the most important band member. And the drummer, and they had problems with Mike. I cannot go in too much detail about it because that's their thing. And so they they came to the point that Mike is not in the band anymore. And before I canceled them, the Full Metal Cruise, Wacken Full Metal Cruise canceled them, and the other gigs were canceled too. Actually, I was the last one on canceling them because I was trying for days to persuade them to do the final shows with Mike, but they couldn't come to an agreement. So I had to say I cannot do it, and that's why I had to look for a replacement band. And I think Vicious Rumors is a perfect choice for that, and they play the complete digital Dictator album. Plus, we will have Carl Albert's son singing, which we had many years in the back at QB2, and he's sounding exactly like Carl Albert. And even on stage, his movements and stuff, it's you get goosebumps when you see him perform, and that's the thing that comes closest to old Vicious Rumors. And I only wanted to do it with Kevin. The I think I had this very special show already. So if I would have done just the actual Vicious Rumors, I think people would have been a little bit disappointed because they would have expected something special. So I agreed with Jeff Thorpe that we do this, and Kevin agreed too. So I was very happy that we could have this replacement, which is not only a replacement, it's maybe it's even better. So I'm kind of okay with how it went, everything. Of course, I would have loved to see Leatherwolf, but you cannot force a band for their best. So things like this happen all the time. So I couldn't do anything about it.
I was planning to see Wolf in Holland, and I heard about the cancellation. I remember that when the organizer on the Holland show he canceled, people were asking about if the other shows were happening, if Keep It True was still happening, and like you said, you were the last one to cancel them. But I'm going to see Vicious Rumors on their tour in Holland, so I think I'll have the opportunity to see both singers.
I think the actual singer will join Kevin for one or two songs at the end of the show, but Kevin will sing all the other songs. So it will be a very cool thing, and you can also enjoy the actual singer of their normal tour.
I'm curious about Texas Metal Legion with members from Watchtower, as a Slayer, and other bands of Texan heavy metal. How did you get to them?
Oh, well, I always have been a big fan of the Texas metal scene, and I always had good contact with these guys. And I already had many Texas metal bands playing, and I knew all these guys, and I don't know. Sometimes I have these ideas mainly while driving car or sitting on the toilet when I have time to think about things. And actually, with this, I was just driving home from work, and I just had this idea: why not doing a Texas metal tribute? I just talked to these guys, and actually, they were doing some local shows with changing lineups and stuff. So I told them what I want, and they were really happy about it. So we will have songs performed from Watchtower, from SA Slayer, from Militia, and a few more that I won't tell to keep the surprise. Uh, so it will be a blast, I think. And having Jason McMaster, one of the greatest performers and singers from the Texas metal scene, makes me proud all the time. And he's a great guy, and I'm really happy to have him.
And we will also have other US bands from the 80s coming to keep it true, like Culprit, Cities, Sacred Right, and Juggernaut. And also coming from the US, we have the newcomers Witherfall, Idle Hands, and Midnight, perhaps the more extreme band of the bill.
Yeah, it's a very American billing, I think, this year. It of course it costs me much more because there are so many flights, but like I said, I'm going very much for the quality and originality of the band, and I think all these bands, many of these bands never played Europe, like Cities or Sacred Right, and it's important to have these, and people are very much looking forward to hear and see them, and it's always a gamble with reuniting all these old bands if they can still perform and stuff, but I happily take the risk because you never know if you ever have the choice to hear these great songs ever live again. So I need to take risks. So in the past, I had amazing shows. In the past, I had one or two mediocre shows too. But that's the price you pay. And if you don't try, you don't know. And that's my ideology. And I will keep on doing this. And I always say, let's try.
Among these US 80s metal bands, the one I want to see the most is Cities, of course, and you almost canceled them from what I read.
Yeah, actually, I was asking the audience what they think because unfortunately, the singer and the guitar player they had to cancel the gig, and the band leader Sal Italiano, the bassist, he suggested me to go on with new band members, which he introduced to me, and the singer I was knowing already. He's a really great singer and great guy. But I was torn about it, and I didn't know what to do. So I asked the audience of Keep It True, and I posted on several sites a poll, and it was a very close run. But in the end, more people said, "Let's do it," and so I went for it, and in that case, it's very important for me to hear what the people say and what they feel about it. And of course, many said, "Oh, it makes no sense then." But I always, like I said, I always have the opinion: don't miss ever a chance to hear these songs once in your lifetime. And if the original singer is not able to perform them, maybe another one can do it too. So I know with underground audience, it's always a little bit more complicated than with mainstream audience because they are more picky with everything. So I always try to respect and look at it. But in this case, it was a close decision between yes or no. I chose finally for yes. So I hope it goes well.
We almost finished now, but we have two bands from the UK who released two of the best albums last year. I just saw Satan in the Netherlands and it was a great concert. Their album Cruel Magic is fantastic. I have to confess that I'm not that familiar with Solstice, mainly because I'm not so connected to the doom metal scene.
Mhm.
But they seem to have a huge following among the festival crowd.
Yeah, they totally have, and I wouldn't even put Solstice into the doom genre. I would describe it as much more epic metal. Of course, they have very big doom influences, um, but they have a unique sound. They have a unique appearance, and I would say it's you can compare the fans to the fans from a band like Atlantic Codex, for example. They are very dedicated and very they stay very true to the band and stuff. I think it was about time to have them on Keep It True, because I already had them on a Hammer of Doom. So I'm pretty sure it will work out great, and they are a good live band and stuff. So will be a good thing.
As we already talked about Traveler and Sabir, I think we covered all the bands playing in Keep It True this year.
Mhm.
I have one last question. This will be my first Keep It True. What can I expect to find there?
Whoa, a lot. First of all, you will find all the people from around the world that think very similar about metal like you. It's not a very mainstream audience. You will have all the underground hits blasting in the cars around the venue and the camping place and stuff, which is not very usual on bigger festivals. You will have a huge metal market in a tent right before the venue. It's hard to describe, because when you haven't been there, it's uh, it's a different atmosphere. I would say it's very friendly. It's like a brotherhood, and all the people going there, they know each other, and it's like a family meeting each once a year, and a lot of camaraderie, and yeah, and of course great bands, and we try everything to make everyone as comfortable as possible. And like I said, we this year we will improve the complete showering, toilets, and catering situation a lot this year. So people should be very happy with it, and I'm pretty sure it will be a great fest of brotherhood and friendship again. And I'm pretty sure people that were there, they want to come back again, and I think that will happen to you too.
I have a few friends that I know that are going to meet there, but I can't wait to make new friends. Maybe the people that listen to my channel, they will be there. So I'm very anxious about, because we know about Keep It True. I know about Keep It True since I was back in Brazil, so it's a big thing there among the metalheads, because old school heavy metal is very big in Brazil. People love old school heavy metal there, and we always talked about Keep It True. There was a year that one of my friends saw the lineup, and he said he would be dead by halfway the lineup because it was so good.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think you will meet a lot of people that know your channel, because I think it's highly frequented by the Keep It True guys. And if you do a shirt with your channel on it or something like this, you will have many talks with people. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the interview, Oliver. I'm hoping to meet you at the festival and have a beer or two with you.
Of course, we will meet, and I'm looking forward to seeing you too. And it's not so long now.